I will introduce 100% Mad, which is one of the reasons why we are here today, and to sort of set the tone and set the context and set the background to what we are going to launch today and start the journey, which is something that I'd like to share with you and somehow enroll you and get you to believe in the sort of things that we are working towards. I will like to share this image with you. This is firewalking. Where is Carol? Carol is here today. Here she is. There's a plug for Carol, who's my partner, friend, and she's been a great supporter from day one. Do you think this is possible for the people who haven't done it? Do you think that walking on fire, 1700 degrees Celsius colds, is this possible? Well, the ones who've done it, it's possible for them. But logically, is it possible? 1700 degree colds. Bare feet. I've done it about 3 times myself. Carol does it every other day. And she inspires people. But the key thing about this, and I wanted to set this tone, is that dispense and just suspend your disbelief at some of the things we will talk about today. Open yourself, open your hearts. Because things that seem absolutely illogical and completely out of range, we can do. I've done a firewalk many times. This is my metaphor for life. This is what I am going through in my life today. Bob Geldof, who started Live Aid, as you remember, he was one of the key people who, when he started that, he basically converted all of the people into doing exactly that. He did this firewalk, and so have many, many other people. So today we're going to talk about what's really important. What do we believe in? How does it work? How does it connect in our lives? And I think that's something that is there. Before I carry on, I think it's important to just really set the tone nicely. And I'd like to invite my little niece. Her name is Natasha. And she has recently won an amazing poetry competition. And I have to read the poem, by the way, because she doesn't want to do it herself. And she won a poetry competition, so I spoke to her about Mad, thinking that, will she even get it? My sister, Lubna, who's also here, who I love dearly, she thinks I'm completely nuts. I'm not even mad, I'm certifiable. But she got it. And she wrote a poem. Would you please read for us? Yeah, okay. Here we go.
Can you?
No, you read it. You read it.
The tragedy of 22,000 dying innocent children each day is unacceptable. However, we should make a difference or the world will end up being terrible. Now is the time to get 100% mad, and it shouldn't just be a fad. We believe that every person should have access to education in every nation. We will strive to wipe out poverty, or then life will have no quality. We will change the world to a better place because we all have what it takes.
Thank you. So now I need help because she is the one who's taken the show. I think this is what it's about. It's about young people feeling, I can stand up here and make a speech. She can't. That comes from my heart. And that's what this whole evening is about touching people's hearts and touching people's lives. And building a future that our children and our future that's where we're going to be spending our future. So thank you very much, Natasha. You've been lovely and very brave, so I really appreciate it. Another hand for her. So our challenge was, in this world today, we have an amazing, amazing opportunity, and how we respond to that opportunity was there. We are living at a time when the young people, the millennials of the world, are the most interconnected generation of all time. Everybody has a cell phone, everybody's connected to each other through social media and so on. And they're sitting with that power in their hands. And that is the opportunity. They feel a lot, but they don't have a kind of a uniting platform, a connecting place where they are able to express themselves, express what they feel and how they'd like to contribute. So that is one scenario that I'd like to share with you. The second scenario is that because of technology, because of social changes and cultural changes, the state of charity and giving is in a state of flux. If you imagine the top end of the triangle, the top 1 to 5% of the people, these 1 to 5% of the people are helping the bottom 25% of the pyramid that needs that help. So what happens? The top 1% have tremendous fatigue. There's a lot of donation fatigue and donation hesitation. The systems aren't transparent anymore, or they have never been transparent. So what modern technology enables us to do is to make all of these things transparent and open. So that's our other opportunity, is technology through this methodology moving down that triangle. So what we are doing, if you can imagine, is we're going down that triangle to do something to address a new generation, to address the youth of the world. Because the youth of the world are never asked to contribute in any way. When Professor Muhammad Yunus in Bangladesh, when he started microfinance, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, what he did was, he said, well, we'll give it to women. Traditional wisdom was, no, you have to give it to people who already have a job. He said, no, I'll give it to people who are unemployed. He also said, I'll work on helping these women to fundamentally come out of poverty. So there were a lot of things that went against traditional wisdom. So he created this environment, and he turned the whole system of banking upside down with microfinance. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we are doing today with the social entrepreneurship model that we have. 100% Mad is a not-for-profit social enterprise that has one purpose, and that purpose is to deliver social impact. So the return is not return on investment. The return is on social impact. The return is not return on your cash, but is return on your mission. It's your return on your cause. It's your return on things that you believe in that make your future special, makes her future special. And that is what it is. So we put our minds together and said, what do we do now? How do we change this? And since our brains are completely infinite in terms of possibilities, and Tony Bazan, who is the world's leader as far as this thing is concerned, he's on his way. I've just spoken to my driver. He should be about 10 minutes away. He's the one who talks about the limitless possibilities of the brain. Whenever there is a problem, we find a solution. So I always give the example that if I was invited by Eric Schmidt about 10 years ago in 2004 and said, well, we've discovered this really, really cool product, and we call it Google. And it's a really cute brand. Beyond that, it has great algorithms, and it does searches, and you don't need encyclopedias anymore, and it's the most wonderful product. It's going to change the world. You are now the CEO of this company. Go and make a business out of it. But there's one catch. And that catch is you cannot sell the product. The product is search. So if you think about it, Google doesn't sell search. It's for free. Facebook is free. Instagram is free. Twitter is free. All of these new models are free because the innovation, the business model innovation that has happened around it is the fact that you drive traffic and you sell advertising. They created meta tags. They created all sorts of new products in the Google ecosystem, which made it into a $100, $200 billion company. They have never sold search, ever. So I thought to myself, hang on. What happens if we do exactly the same for donations? If we do exactly the same thing for charity? In other words, if this is my box of money that arrives here, this is 100%. This is your $1 in there. I'm not allowed to touch it. Do you think I can make a business around it? Sure I can. But if my paradigm is that, well, I can take a little bit from here, and I can take a little bit of administration from here, and I can take a little bit of expenses from there, and I'll report it, and I'll audit it, and I'll be transparent about it. I'm saying no. We put the stake in the ground and say, no, that's untouchable. This is amana. This is money held in trust. And therefore, we build around it. And that is what the next slide is about. So we've created a social enterprise. And why a social enterprise versus a charity? A social enterprise allows us to go and run a business, not a charity. The purpose of the business is to ensure the charity survives and the charity is funded. But we run a business. So I can pay PR companies, I can hire the best CEO in the world, I can pay whatever I want to do as a business. While we're doing that, we're not touching this. This is 100% protected. We're creating new markets. There are examples around here. We're creating a retail business. We're creating a licensing business. We're creating an events business. These are the meta tags. These are the sponsorship products as Google around this. We are not touching that. Your donation is always 100%. And that's our pledge, and we wanted to move from there. So this is how we have developed our business structure, is to create an environment that this will remain sacred and will never be touched. As we were being pressured into, well, is it going to work? How is it going to work? All this kind of crap that we always hear. I said, okay, let's take it one stage further. And we did. We said, not only will 100% of your money be untouched, we will make 100% completion of the projects for every single donation. Every single donation has to have 100% completion. Sounds stupid, doesn't it? 100% completion of every single donation. Any ideas? How would that work? We don't think like that. Our paradigms don't work like that. Because we give $10, $1, 100 dirhams during Ramadan or whatever. We do it with an open heart. And it sort of goes away, and we hope that it works out, and we've got our conscience injection, and we feel good. That's it. So the challenge to us was, how do we make this 100% completion? And last night, I had a very tough night last night. My mother wasn't well. She's, alhamdulillah, better today. But till 3:30 in the morning, she had very high blood pressure and panic attacks and so on. I was thinking about today. So when I woke up in the morning, I just got my adrenaline going and got myself ready for today. And the world, there's something, do you know something called pronoia? Pronoia is the reverse of paranoia. In other words, the world is conspiring to help you. Have you ever felt that? When things just happen around you to help you, to work for you? So I felt this moment of pronoia this morning, where I got a call at 9 o'clock in the morning, totally random. And he said, I was given this reference because I saw your little HTML that went out, and this person spoke to me about it and said, what a wonderful thing this is, blah, 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 and I'd like to come and do this and meet with you. Can we come at 12 o'clock? And I said, fine. They have developed a technology, and it's called CharityImpact.com. It's a charity impact card. So they have built all of the technology for a loyalty card. So every time you go to Spinneys, every time you go to Chaitra, every time you come to the hub, we'll do a little co-branding with them. The card that you use, the 100 dirhams that you spend, the 10 points you get go straight into one specific item that you can select. So for example, it could be one child gets a meal. That's 100%. It could be one child gets vaccination. That's 100%. And we keep adding this thing up. So here this morning, my pronoia, this gentleman calls, comes to my office, and then suddenly he gives me this gift. And he's allowed me to speak about it today and said, we are partners with you. So what a wonderful way to start a day. I didn't have a loyalty card this morning. I do now. I didn't have technology this morning. I do now. And this is how these type of things work. So moving on, we started deciding on what kind of, what kind of projects we will work on. Because everybody is saying, you know, we need, what causes are you doing and where are you going? And you're stuck with existing charities and so on. So all of the charities we're working with, all of the groups we're working with are all 100% of the money will go through into the actual project. One of our patrons of our company is Deepak Chopra. And Deepak is an amazing man. Apart from being very spiritual, he has an amazing philosophy of life. And he sees balances and imbalances in the world. And you'll see again from another genius, which is Tony Bizan, and he'll talk about creativity and how that works within our lives. I'd like to share a little film with you, which is the project that we are working on with Deepak Chopra through microdonations, $1 at a time. And I can explain that to you. Please, Father.
There has never been a time when obesity has been a more serious problem. It's all around us, affecting children and adults alike. Despite our efforts at watching our weight, we are still losing the fight against obesity. But while the world around us is grappling with losing weight, there is a more serious problem that we seem to have forgotten. A problem that affects those less fortunate than us. According to the World Health Organization, the single greatest threat to the world's public health is hunger and malnutrition. Every year, millions of children and adults die due to lack of access to basic nutrition. So here's the situation. There are millions succumbing to obesity, and at the same time, millions dying from being severely undernourished. How do we restore balance in a world faced with a weight problem spanning two extremes? Presenting the Weightless Project, an initiative where any attempt at shedding a few pounds results in funds that will help the undernourished gain vital weight that could possibly save their lives. Every minute on the treadmill, every calorie burnt on a run, or even something as simple as joining a gym could change someone's life. This project helps you and the world get healthy. If any of us ever needed another reason to work out, this is it. Hi, I'm Deepak Chopra, and I support the Weightless Project. To know more, log on to choprafoundation.org or weightlessproject.org.
Deepak Chopra's view is there are a billion people in the world who are obese, on the one hand, and there are a billion people in the world who are absolutely starving. What a sad imbalance. And we are all sitting here. And one of the things which I keep saying is that it's not death and destruction and disease that's killing people, it's indifference. And we'll talk about that in a second. But what Deepak Chopra is saying, we need to redress this balance. 1 billion people obese, 1 billion people starving. So how do we do that? Every time somebody goes on a treadmill, Jawbone, Fitbit, all this kind of stuff, you burn 1,000 calories. If you burn 1,000 calories, I give $1. And you circulate that to your friends. So it'll be 10 or 15 friends all giving $1 every time you lose 1 pound. You lose 10 pounds, you're on a campaign, suddenly you have 100, 200 pounds. Every $200 that you receive, you have 200, 300, 500 children being fed. So as if you needed yet another reason to exercise, you've got one. So exercise, nutrition, we can link it to nutrition. And what we're doing is working with our app and linking it to our app that every time you get on a treadmill, you're actually helping somebody. You're feeding somebody. So you're getting fitter, somebody else is getting fitter. And the world starts balancing. Very, very simple. $1 at a time. Who says we can't raise $1 billion? Who says we can't connect like that? Here is a gentleman who came this morning and gave me a gift of loyalty points. Loyalty points that you never see, you throw away, you forget, and you buy total crap with it, generally. And now, every time you do that, every time you go to Spinneys, you know you've fed somebody. You've given a bottle of water to somebody. You've given a vaccination to somebody. In exactly the same way, every time you go on a treadmill within a program, you actually feed somebody. So this is a mad project. Why is it mad? It's mad because it's sort of anti-establishment a little bit, because we're not working with any establishment here. It's a little bit mad because it's taking a global problem and addressing it $1 at a time. It's also mad because it's preventable. It's also mad because it's sustainable and it links people and connects their hearts. That's why it's mad. So those are our mad projects. Here's another one. I was stretching this until Tony Buzan came in, because this is his dream. We are living his dream. And this dream is, we call this a Project Butterfly. He's going to walk in and he's going to have 8 butterfly balloons with him, by the way. So when you see balloons coming in, you know that's Tony Buzan, because he is amazing. He's 72 years old, the greatest creative IQ in the world, and he thinks like a 7-year-old. And he has the same level of playfulness and color and excitement in his life. And he's going to talk to you about that creativity today. So with all of that, what he and I sat down one day, he said his view of the world is, by the way, he's also a Nobel Peace Prize nominee. And he's been nominated that he would bring about peace through education. And his thesis is that education, which he calls mental literacy, and not education as we have traditionally. He calls it mental literacy, which is analytical thinking, problem solving, learning about how the brain works, learning about how you think, learning about how your memory works, and how you can ensure that your memory will stay strong right until, the last days of your life. But most importantly, what he says is it gives you hope. People who have hope do not blow themselves up. People who have hope do not go into criminal activity or drugs or terrorism. They just don't. So his idea is that he will ensure that we give hope to all of the young people in the world through mental literacy. So the Project Butterfly is about mental literacy. We are starting this project tomorrow in Pakistan, where the numbers here are 5 million. We have a challenge, no, not a challenge. We have an opportunity of educating 5 million children over 5 years in one country. Across there is 5 billion. That's his ultimate challenge. This is just a pilot. It's just next door. I have a very good partner who's working with us on this particular project, so we are starting there. 5 million kids. So you say, how the hell are you going to do 5 million kids? You don't have any money. I don't have an endowment. I am not a rich guy. I'm not even asking for donations from anybody. And I'm just sneaking little sort of loyalty points here and there and bits and pieces and doing this kind of shit. What we have done is we said, let's find a way to connect on the one side the teachers and on the other side all of the students, and find a way to amplify Tony's message. So what he's going to do is we're going to start training 1,000 master teachers. It's going to start next week, and we'll start with 50, and they will train another 50, and then by December we will have 1,000 master teachers. What we're also going to do in the meantime is on the 20th of December, we are going to do one of the largest events in the country that has happened there with children. 20,000 kids between the ages of 10 and 14 will be in one stadium, and he will talk to all of them. He's done 9,000 people with, at the Royal Albert Hall. He did 5,000 people in Soweto in South Africa, just outside Johannesburg. So he's done all of that. Now he's saying, I want to move to the next level, which is 20,000 people. What we are doing to amplify Tony's message is actually designing and putting together, okay, let me put it another way. How would you take a message, any kind of message, to 5 million kids? Any thoughts, any ideas? I'm talking too much, I'll get some feedback. How would you amplify a message? Television? Social media? Do you think people will like to be educated just using social media? So you'll receive a message on mental literacy? Games, absolutely brilliant. That's one. Cricket games, absolutely. Bollywood games, which also comes together. We're going to do all of those. So we're using technology to reach the people as much as possible. But there's one thing which we are doing, which is... Does anyone remember the Obama election in 2008? That's a hologram. That gentleman there, will.i.am, came to talk to, what's his name, Anderson Cooper, as a hologram. So what we're doing in Pakistan over the next 3 days is duplicating Mr. Bazan as a hologram. And when that hologram is available, we'll create a structure and have mobile units with this hologram, with the 1,000 teachers, every weekend, a 5-hour program with the master, the program, and the teaching. And then these master teachers will be working towards making sure that all of these numbers are met. It's interesting that USAID and other organizations are jumping all over us to help train the teachers. So we're making sure that we don't take all the money from USAID, because then we'll get stuck. So we're taking it from 10 different places, and USAID will be 1/10 of that supplier. On the other side, we have 5 million kids, which means 10 million families. Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Vodafone, Telenor, killing each other to be the sponsors. So without asking anybody for any money, anybody, we are now, as business people, creating a business model using technology, using a great thinker, a thought leader, and we are going into a country and saying, this country needs literacy, mental literacy, because otherwise this country is going to go down the tubes with terrorism and all sorts of nonsense. We're doing the same in Bangladesh. We're doing the same in Mexico with President Fox. That is a prototype of the future. That's an iPhone and hologram. This hologram, I mean, this prototype actually exists today. It's still, bandwidth very hungry, so we're still working on it. This one is very possible, but we don't need any bandwidth because everything will be residing in the server. So we can just keep going one at a time with the server. So we're going to be training 400 kids every weekend, times 1,000, every weekend throughout the country, reaching 5 million. Once the model is structured, immediately we go to Palestine, immediately we go to Uganda, immediately we go to Bangladesh and various other places. And that's really the core model for the Butterfly Project. And using technology, and then we'll get into games, we'll get into apps, we'll get into all sorts of stuff like that. That's a mad project. Yet another mad project. Do you think the establishment will like this? Absolutely not. Because we are going out of their comfort zone. Because we're not sitting in there and teaching in a book. You should, when I send the instructions of what we need for the kids day after tomorrow, people thought we were silly. I said we need colored pens, we need blank sheets, we need all sorts of, we need highlighters, we need this kind of book, and we need flowers, and we need paintings, because that's how he works. He gets that creativity moving and creativity going. It's not about, and he believes that every kid is a genius, and he explains how our schooling system dumbs us down. Just one second, sir. Can you call Usher and find out where he's at? He's obviously stuck somewhere. He should be here because you guys will get bored just listening to me. These are just... This is about gratitude here, sir. These are just some of the names who have helped us pull things together. Boomtown helped us to do the video. Belong Interactive is helping us with our app. KCAL is going to feed you tonight. Digital did our website. Ritz-Carlton does all our events and stuff like that. Right Selection introduced us to Tony Bazan. Birdie did some other... At Talent House, there's a campaign running at this point in time on design and so on. All of these people are doing it with the goodness of their heart. And I'd like to, whoever's here, I know Andres is here, Pierre and others, thank you very, very much. I'm very grateful. And this is what we are doing. This is where we are going with it. Yes?
How are you overcoming resistance to a lot of places you're going to, as you mentioned earlier?
Yes.
The governments are not going to be happy with what you're doing. The governments aren't going to be happy with what you're doing. You're basically encouraging an alternative thinking system which will be detrimental to their desire to control the population.
Yes.
How are you managing to overcome that in a positive, non-confrontational way?
I have a very non-confrontational view of the world anyway, so I don't do that. But great question. Frankly, I haven't thought it through. And I've thought a lot about it, but I haven't thought it through. In the sense that, will we get resistance? Yes, absolutely. So, being absolutely open and honest and vulnerable, what I like to share with you is one of the reasons we are working with icons like Deepak Chopra, like Tony Bazan, like Jack Canfield. All of these people, they are beyond question. They can question me, but they can't question them. So what we're saying is our first 2, 3, 4 projects are going to be beyond question and beyond reproach. That's one of the reasons we're doing that. So Professor Bazan, welcome, sir. He's here. I've been yabbering on forever, Tony, so help. So, the answer is we need to work with the governments and show that it is not threatening in any way. We need to have thought leaders in their space saying, we are not disrupting anything. An imbalance of obesity versus starvation, that doesn't take rocket science to work through. And same with mental literacy. So we are working with what I would call simpler concepts rather than fundamentally going out there. We're not using words like revolution. We're not using words like, well, the kids might, so we'll throw them forward. Tony, could you just go a couple of slides further, please? This is what I do. This is my state of mind. And this is the emotion that I go into a lot of places with. If you want to be cynical, please, fine, but don't interrupt the person who's actually doing it. Now that seems impossible what this gentleman is doing. So let it be. And that's the spirit with which we are going in. Professor Bazan, sir.